Hey folks, time once again for me to do daily targets from the past. This is February 24th, February 25th, and February 26th of 2024. Let's get right to it. This is a fun one. I believe really it's about elements. And so to do that and not have a container, I believe what I want to do is do display flex. But to do that, I think I need to take advantage of the HTML element. So I'm going to try that. I'm not sure I have to, but to get the rounded border on this and not have an additional container, I think that's what I need to do. So let's see if that works. It's not. I don't typically style the HTML background, but it does work in this case. It looks like setting the margin on the body element in this case, which is not visible in here, but does exist, is doing what I want. All right, so let's set a background there, and then set padding there. Okay, so we've got several of the pieces that we need to do that. Let's see how far we can get. 6, 8, 9. Okay, 90 on the top. 50 on the sides, and that is good. These paragraphs are way too big. These are pretty small elements, height, and they need a width as well. I'll give them a 10 and 10. Smaller than what I think they are, but I think that's what we need for now. I'm going to set that color to be white, hash, and then 3 colors. And this is the basis for creating this keyboard, sort of a semi-keyboard shape. Let's do our border radius to get those rounded corners to make this, what is a rounded rectangle border radius. Let's try to use a Q measure. 8, how about 16, 18, 20, 20 Q, maybe 21 Q, 22. Just trying to really optimize the rounded corners. So they're correct. That is going to be suspect if it doesn't work. Okay, so padding. I'm adding a padding of 15. It looks like the widths of these are, at least of the big ones, a width of. So this is where we need to decide exactly how we do this layout. We could use a display grid, but I think the most likely is a display flex with a flex wrap, with a value of wrap. That also means probably that we need to unset the margins of these paragraph elements because otherwise they're going to cause problems. So I'm going to do C. An attribute of A for these wide ones, and so I'm gonna create. Let's wait. So I've created too many already. Wait. So 1 wide, and then we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another wide one, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do another one of these wide ones. So what are we missing? The heights on these are wrong, so let's make them taller, 20. And then we need to create an attribute to respect that A attribute. So the selector for the A attribute would be a width of something wider. We'll call it 30. And then we need a gap between each one, 10 pixels. All right, so that's where we are now. So it looks like the default is a little not wide enough. How about 20? Okay. And then the wideness of this wide one is not where we want it. How about 40? Okay. And the gap, we're adjusting the gap. So what is 15? 15 looks like it's okay. So that looks pretty good. The second row is the same. So we can copy and paste the second row. In theory, we could also do, rather than that, we could do box shadow. Do we want to do that? We could certainly do that. Let's see what a box shadow looks like there. Box shadow, 0, 30 pixels. There it is. 30, 40, 30, 35. And that's pretty cheap to get kind of be right on the money. Okay, we need a border radius on those elements. Border radius. And I'm going to do 10 pixels. And that seems to be doing what I want. Additional to that, the wide one, actually, for the wide one, we could do an additional. So what happens if we do var s, comma var s, or 0, 0. And let's set color. So this is maybe not clear what I'm doing, but so for the wide ones, and in this case, let's change that attribute because I keep using A, and really W is better. Let's set that to W. For the wide ones, we're going to set S to 10, 0, 0, 10 pixels. 0, so 0, oh, wait, nope, wrong. I put it on the wrong thing. Oops. There it is. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's an additional one. So that we get that for free. And by setting the color on the element. Whoa, that's interesting. There we go. So that was the 2 rules. So that's a single set of elements now. How do we do this last element? If I add another P tag, where does it show up? Ugh. So P, and then let's call that one Z. We're going to say box shadow none. Let's do that. And let's set a width 100, 200, 150. And then how shall we move it? I think a margin. We'll try a margin. I'm a little concerned that it's going to be a problem. 2, 10, 20, 30, 40. Oh, so that is causing a little bit of a problem. So 10 and 10, 20, 30, 40, 35, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think what that means, so the fact that it's being squeezed open is a problem. We're not over far enough, 40. And then, so our top margin is 40, or top margin needs to be 35, I think. And then our left margin is 50, and that's correct, but we need 0 and 0 here. Otherwise, we're pushing down the outsides. Okay, so have that width of let's make it 160. How about 170? 180, 70, 60, 60. Okay, so so it should be lined up, and that means we need to make this one higher, 55. And that's it. So that's a single line of elements, and then a special one for the spacebar, which I guess it maybe could have been S for spacebar. And I guess the W keys, which are wider, are the control keys, something like that. Other specialty keys. Okay, so a weird solution, kind of a surprising solution in a lot of ways. I didn't, and the reality is, why is this a variable? I don't think that anything precludes us from doing this. This can still be that, can't it? So P, let's see what happens if we do this. Whoops. Oh, we need a comma. There it is. Well, that works the same way. So the way I've done it, that's totally valid. And if I remove this, you see that it's all those lines. We still need to do something with that, though. We still need a wider one, and we would need to either make this shadow 1, 2, 3, 4 times to flesh out that that background. I guess in theory, we could also, rather than adding this whole specifier, and rather than adding this, we could do it on the body tag. So rather than this background, we would do my favorite, the conic gradient. Which would be what? That color, 75%, and then white. And then it would be an at. What did we determine? That was, well, I didn't commit it to memory. 140 pixels, 20 pixels, comma. And then we move that over. 60, 70, and then down by also 70 pixels, maybe 80, maybe 85, and then over another 5, maybe 80. All right, and that's another way to do it. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 paragraphs make that shape. So I'm going to unit replace and minify and see how this looks. Not too bad. Let's resubmit, and we'll have done it. I like that one. I like that one a lot. Big fan of the box shadow for this purpose. All right, next. Oh, that's got my old solution. Let's just remove that, and let's do it an entirely different way. I'm going to start with the blank template. And do I have one hanging out here? No, I don't. Okay, so let's start with an inner square. And to do that, I'm going to do conic gradient. And we'll do pink, 75%. And then color, 0. I'm going to do an at value to do the width. And what's this width? It goes from what? 100 to 300. So it's at 200 pixels. 200 pixels. Move that over. And that seems to be putting things where we want it. Okay, so how do we make that shape? So to me, what if we did this using, so I think it's either multiple conic gradients or multiple elements. In this case, what I think I'd like to do is punch out the center, background that, and then do margin. So we already got margin, but I'm going to remove it there. Margin 100, Margin 100 gets you something. That's great. How about margin 100, 120, 130, 140, 142? Is it that odd thing? Okay, great. So, but the problem is now we don't have these little lines. So how do we do the little lines? What's the best way to do that? I think I want to do two new of these, a vertical one and a horizontal one. So let's see what that looks like. So I'll do the vertical one first, and we'll do P, or we'll do a V identifier. And I'm going to use a bigger outlandish color, background red. And the margins need to be, what, negative? So by altering the margins, I'm constraining the width of this thing. And I just want to make one vertical line. Can I do that? Okay, so I want to do just this first vertical one here, and then that will help me do all the rest of them. So I need more margin here, 100, and then more negative to make it go up. Great, and then even more on the second parameter to make it narrower. And we need to set a height. Is it 50? Okay, getting close. Let's set that color to be something more reasonable, the correct pink. Okay, so this margin needs to be more, 1, 2, great, and then that height, the width needs to be constrained more, so that's this number, 80, 7, 80. But 285 is too much, 260. So this is why we do the red color. Outline, 1 pixel, solid, red. There it is. So we've gone too far, but that's the element, right? So too much margin here. 90, 85, 80, 90, 95, something like that. All right, so I'm going to eyeball it a little bit here because this is pretty tricky stuff. How about 8, 102, and then this number goes up. 80, no, it's way too much. 27, 72, and that's it. Okay, so I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to set the color to that same thing, and that has no effect because we don't have any text in there or anything else, but we can do a box shadow with that of 20 pixels over and 0 pixels tall and get that shadow. And let's do another one. 100 pixels over and then down 40 pixels. I'll do a color there so I can see it. All right, so lower 5, 40, 50, 60, 150 rather. And then 150 pixels, 70 pixels. Oh, no, 50 stays the same. It's that number that needs to go up. So there it is. That's another one. So now we need the horizontal one. So what do we need to do with the horizontal one? I think, so V is misrepresenting this. Let's say it's T. T, yeah. So now we have two of these, and I'm going to set the color now to red and red for this second, for that one. For that one, we're correct. We're going to do var dash dash C or that color, and then var dash dash C or color. But I want to reuse this, so to do that I need to rotate the other one. So this one we're going to add the T attribute and the H attribute, and then for H we're going to do rotate 90 degrees, and then margin. So margin is how we have those colors that we have. So I'm going to do a transform, and actually let's do the rotate 90 degrees as a part of a transform, just because it's going to be easier to deal with. So we're going to do translate minus 100 pixels, comma 0, and then set a color, dash dash C is red. There it is. How about minus 50? And then, so that's not what we want. We don't want that. We want 0, comma, minus 50. And that almost gets what we want. So let's turn off the rotate. We're seeing it. Fascinating. So because of the margins here, we need to undo those things. There. Oh, look at that. So, okay. Now let's rotate 90 degrees. Okay. We have in principle what we want, but we need to move those into position. So this is going to be a little tricky. 20 pixels. Is that better or worse? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 100, 120, 130. And then hopefully this does something reasonable. 5, 6, 7, 10, 20, 30, 40. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then 110. And then undo the red. And did we match it? I think we did. I hope we did. That is a wacky solution to this problem. And it is 100%, and we're going to get out. Because that was tricky. That's a very tricky set of HTML. And that's a better score than I've gotten in the past. So I like that solution. This is the, I'm using way more box shadows than I would have thought, which is apt because I think I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, so what do I want for this one? All right. I think this is all backgrounds, weirdly. Let's do a radial gradient. That's right in the center, 10%, then yellow, 0, 20%, and then orange, 0, 20%, and then we need the keyword circle. It's going to be in the middle, 50%, 50% is the background position, and we need to set a height and width. Is it 200 pixels by 200 pixels? and then not repeat it. And that's how you get that shape. So these numbers are wrong. How about 9%? How about 9%? 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. How about an even 10 pixels or 15 pixels? There it is. And next number is 10, 20, 30, 33, 34, 35, 36, 36, 35. How about 40 pixels? Or is it 50? 50 pixels. And then we don't need a final number there. That's how you get the first part of that. Can we get the rest of it? I guess we need a backup color. And I take it back, we will use a paragraph. So here's the paragraph. And that paragraph margin is, we need to give it a height. Is it 20? Oh, actually, no, we know that number. It's 30 pixels. Border radius, 50%. Color has that, and the width, and then background is that color. So now we need margins to put it into place, just like we've done all the rest. How about 100? How about 70? And with each one of these changes, we're going to constrain it. How about 200, and then 80, and then 200, 0, 80. How about 10, 20, 30, and then how about 90, 100, 110. And with those numbers, we get that. All right, so now that we have color set, we can do box shadow. $120, $130, and that's a shadow. How about another shadow? 0, $130, and then how about another shadow? $130, $130. And that's our shape. Submit. Let's unit replace and minify, and that is, those are some shapes. So that's a single gradient, heavily constrained. So this is a radial gradient, even though it's a square, but we constrain it by setting it to the center, by setting a height and width, and we can do, instead of VW there, I believe we can do 50%. Are there other optimizations we can make? We could set that height not to 30 pixels, but just 30. And that works because it can be unitless in this context. And that's it. Let's submit. And that's our doneness to do these particular CSS battles from the 24th, 25th, and 26th of February 2024. Thanks for following along. Make a web page today. Make something with CSS, make it with HTML. They are ready for you to learn to play with. They are a lot of fun to play with. Make a web page and take care of yourself. Bye.